My name is Alex, and my trouble started last Tuesday. I live in an old house. Mom always said the basement was just for storage. Don't go down there much, Alex, she'd say. It's dusty and full of spiders. I usually listened. Basements are creepy, right? Especially old ones. But that day, I heard a strange thud. It sounded like it came from below. Curiosity, that sneaky little thing, grabbed me. I had to check it out. Maybe a pipe burst, or a stack of boxes fell. I hoped it wasn't rats. I really hoped it wasn't rats. I opened the basement door. A single bare bulb lit the steep wooden stairs. Cobwebs hung like ghostly curtains in the corners. The air felt cold, colder than it should be. I took a deep breath. "Hello?" I called out. Only silence answered. My voice sounded small and shaky. I gripped the rickety handrail. Each step creaked under my sneakers, louder and louder. It was like the house was groaning. I reached the bottom. The concrete floor was damp. Piles of old furniture and forgotten toys lay covered in white sheets, looking like lumpy ghosts in the dim light. It was just a normal, spooky basement, or so I thought. Then, I saw it, at the far end of the long room, tucked away in the darkest corner. It was a door, a small, wooden door. I had never seen it before. I was sure of it. We had lived in this house for 5 years. I had been in the basement a few times, to get the Christmas decorations, or to find an old board game. There was never a door there. Just a plain, boring concrete wall. My heart started to thump like a drum. Where did this door come from? It looked ancient, the wood dark and splintered, with a rusty iron handle. I walked towards it slowly. My feet felt heavy, like they were stuck in invisible mud. What could be behind it? Another room? A secret passage? My mind raced with wild ideas. Maybe it led outside, or maybe it led somewhere else. I reached out my hand. My fingers trembled as they touched the cold metal of the handle. I took another deep breath. "Here goes nothing," I whispered. I pulled the handle. The door creaked open a tiny bit, just enough for me to peek inside, but all I saw was darkness, a thick, inky blackness. And then I blinked, just for a second. When I opened my eyes, the door was gone, vanished. There was only the cold, solid wall again, as if it had never been there at all. The next day, I couldn't stop thinking about the door. Was I dreaming? Did I imagine it? It seemed so real. The rough wood, the rusty handle, the way it disappeared, I had to know. So, after school, I went back down to the basement. My hands were sweaty. My stomach felt like it was full of nervous butterflies. I stood at the top of the stairs. "Okay, Alex," I told myself. "Be brave." The single light bulb flickered. Great, just great. As if it wasn't creepy enough already down there. I took each step carefully, listening. The basement was just as I remembered it from yesterday. Except for one thing. No mysterious door. Just the plain, damp concrete wall in the far corner. I ran my hand over the spot. It was cold and solid. No seams, no hidden hinges, nothing. I sighed. Maybe Mom was right. Maybe I just had an overactive imagination. I turned to leave. That's when I heard it. A soft sound, like someone sighing. But it wasn't me. I froze. "Hello?" I called out, my voice barely a squeak. The sound came again. Closer this time. It wasn't a sigh. It was a whisper. So faint, I could barely make it out. It seemed to come from all around me. From the dark corners. From behind the sheet-covered furniture. Alex. My name. It was definitely my name. Goosebumps popped up all over my arms. How did it know my name? Who was down here with me? I spun around, searching the shadows. "Who's there?" I shouted, trying to sound brave, but my voice trembled. The whispering continued, swirling around me like an icy breeze, getting a little louder with each repetition of my name. The voice, it sounded strange. It was breathy and cold. But there was something else about it too, something familiar. I couldn't quite place it. It was like hearing a song you almost know. "Alex, come here," it whispered again, this time with a hint of something that sounded like my mom's voice, but twisted and wrong. My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't my imagination. This was real, and it was terrifying. I didn't want to come here. I wanted to run, and that's exactly what I did. I turned and bolted up the stairs, not stopping until I slammed the basement door shut behind me. I avoided the basement for a whole week after hearing those whispers. Every time I walked past the basement door, I felt a chill. I tried to act normal. I did my homework. I watched TV. I even helped Dad wash the car. But the memory of that cold, whispering voice calling my name kept replaying in my head, and the image of the disappearing door. What was going on in my house? I had to find out. I couldn't just ignore it. Even though every part of me screamed to stay away, another curious part urged me to go back. Maybe I could find an explanation. So the next Saturday morning, I decided to investigate again. This time I came prepared. I grabbed a powerful flashlight from the kitchen drawer. Its beam cut through the gloom as I descended the stairs. The basement was silent. No whispers, no strange sounds, just the usual damp, musty smell. I shone my flashlight into every corner, behind every stack of boxes, under every ghostly sheet. Nothing seemed out of place. I made my way to the far wall where the door had appeared. Still just a wall. I sighed in frustration. Was this all a wild goose chase? Then my flashlight beam landed on an old, forgotten desk tucked away behind a stack of tires. It was covered in a thick layer of dust. On top of it lay a tattered, leather-bound book. It looked like an old journal. My curiosity spiked. Who did this belong to? I carefully picked it up. A cloud of dust poofed into the air, making me cough. I wiped the cover with my sleeve. There was no name on it. I opened it. The pages were yellowed and brittle, and they were filled with writing. Strange, spidery handwriting. Some of it was hard to read. As I flipped through the pages, I saw drawings, weird symbols. And then I saw my name. Alex will come, one entry read. My blood ran cold. How could this be? This journal looked ancient. How could it know my name? I read on. Alex must listen to the whispers. Alex will see the door again. My hands started to shake. This was impossible. I looked around the basement, half expecting someone to jump out. Then I saw something else. Scrawled on the dusty wall right above the desk in fresh chalk were 3 words. Thinking of running? That's exactly what I'd been thinking, just seconds before. The chalk message on the wall. Thinking of running? It was like the basement was reading my mind. I dropped the old journal. It landed with a soft thud on the dusty floor. My first instinct was, yes, run! Get out of here! I spun around and headed for the stairs. My flashlight beam bounced wildly, creating dancing, distorted shapes on the walls. I reached the bottom of the stairs. I took the first step, then the second. That's when the single light bulb at the top of the stairs started to flicker. Wildly. On, off, plunging me into darkness, then brief, blinding light. Oh, come on, I groaned. This was just like a horror movie, and I was the star who was about to do something stupid. The flickering stopped, but the light didn't come back on. It stayed off, completely. I was plunged into inky blackness. My powerful flashlight suddenly seemed very small, its beam a tiny circle in the vast darkness. Okay, don't panic, Alex, I muttered, but panic was definitely bubbling up inside me. I fumbled for the light switch at the bottom of the stairs. I knew it was there. I flipped it up and down. Nothing. The main light was dead. Then I noticed the shadows, or rather how they were moving. My flashlight cast my own shadow long and distorted on the wall ahead, but other shadows in the room seemed alive. They stretched and writhed. They seemed to pull away from the objects that should have been casting them. A shadow from an old coat rack looked like a tall, thin man with long, grasping fingers. The shadows from a pile of boxes seemed to crawl along the floor towards me. It was like they were unglued from reality, dancing to some silent, creepy music. My breath hitched in my throat. I backed away slowly, shining my light around. The shadows recoiled from the beam, but then slithered back as soon as it moved away. It was a terrifying dance, light and shadow, me and them. Then, one shadow detached itself completely from a stack of old chairs. It grew taller, darker. It formed a shape, a vaguely human shape. It didn't have a face, but I could feel it watching me. It tilted its head as if curious. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. The shadow took a step towards me, and then the main basement light flickered back on, brighter than ever. The shadow vanished, but the light switch, it was still in the off position. After the shadow incident, the basement light stayed on. It wouldn't turn off, no matter what I did. I flicked the switch up and down and up. Nothing. It just blazed, annoyingly bright. Honestly, it was almost worse than the darkness. At least in the dark, I could pretend I didn't see things. Now everything was illuminated, every cobweb, every speck of dust, and every patch of damp, spreading mold on the old concrete walls. I'd always found the mold creepy. It grew in weird, dark patches, but I usually just ignored it. Until now. I was trying to calm down after the shadow scare, my heart still racing. I leaned against a wall, trying to catch my breath. My eyes drifted to a large patch of greenish-black mold near the floor. It was bigger than I remembered, and it had a strange pattern. I squinted, trying to make sense of it. The pattern looked familiar, like swirls, or eyes. I stepped closer, my flashlight beam, which I still clutched tightly, adding to the harsh overhead light. The patch of mold was definitely different. It wasn't just a random splotch anymore. It looked like it was forming a shape, a grotesque, distorted shape. My stomach churned. It was a face, a horrible, twisted face staring out from the wall. The mold formed two dark, hollow eye sockets, a lumpy, misshapen nose, and a gaping, silent mouth. It was undeniably a face, and it seemed to be looking right at me. I stumbled back, a small gasp escaping my lips. "No way," I whispered. "It's just mold. It's just my imagination working overtime." But then I saw another one, and another. All along the dampest parts of the walls, the mold was forming faces. Each one different, each one more terrifying than the last. Some were contorted in silent screams. Others had wide, staring eyes. I felt like I was in a gallery of nightmares. The air grew colder, or maybe it was just me. I shone my light from one face to another. Their moldy eyes seemed to follow the beam. They seemed to follow me. I wanted to rub them out, to scrub the wall clean, but I was too scared to touch them. Then my gaze fell upon a new face, just beginning to form near the old, dusty desk. This one was smaller, and as the tendrils of mold spread and darkened, a horrifying realization dawned on me. This new face. It looked like my little sister, Lily, her innocent eyes now dark hollows, her cheerful smile now a grim, moldy line. Seeing Lily's face in the mold, that was just too much. My little sister, she was upstairs, probably playing with her dolls, safe and sound. But down here, in this horrible basement, her image was being twisted into something, well, monstrous. I felt this surge of anger mixed with my fear. "Stop it! Leave my family alone!" I yelled at the walls, at the silent, watching mold faces. My voice echoed in the brightly lit, yet terribly oppressive basement. The only answer was the hum of the light bulb that refused to turn off. I had to get out. I had to make sure Lily was okay. I turned to leave, my eyes darting around, half expecting the shadows to start their dance again or the mold faces to speak. As I reached the stairs, I heard it, the whispering. It was back. But this time, it was different, clearer, and achingly familiar. "Alex, don't go." My heart skipped a beat. I knew that voice. It couldn't be, but it was. It was the voice of my Grandma Rose. She had passed away 2 years ago. I missed her so much. Her voice was always so kind, so comforting. But this version, it was her voice, yeah, but it was layered with that same cold, breathy quality I'd heard before. "Grandma?" I whispered, my throat tight. I turned back from the stairs, confused and scared. How could this be happening? "Alex, dear," the voice continued, sounding so much like her, it made tears spring to my eyes. "I've missed you so much. There's something I need to tell you, something important." It sounded so genuine, so loving. Part of me wanted to believe it, to hear what she had to say. Maybe she knew what was happening in this basement. Maybe she could help. I took a hesitant step back into the room. "What is it, Grandma?" I asked, my voice trembling. "What do you need to tell me?" The voice chuckled, a soft, dry sound, not like Grandma's warm laugh at all. "You always were a curious boy, Alex," it said, "just like your grandfather. He spent a lot of time down here, you know. He was looking for something." "My grandfather? He died before I was born. I knew very little about him. What was he looking for?" I pressed. The voice grew fainter, more distant. "He was looking for the truth, Alex, but be careful. Some truths are buried for a reason." Then it added in a chilling whisper that was pure Grandma Rose. "Remember that secret hiding spot we had in the old oak tree? The one where you hid your first lost tooth?" My blood turned to ice. Only Grandma and I knew about that. The secret of the lost tooth. How could that voice know? My real Grandma Rose would never use a precious memory like that to scare me. This thing, whatever it was playing cruel games. Anger flared up inside me again, stronger this time. "You're not my grandma. Leave me alone." As soon as the words left my mouth, the bright overhead light in the basement sputtered. It flickered once, twice, and then, with a loud pop, it went out. Darkness slammed down like a heavy blanket, complete and utter blackness. Even my flashlight seemed to dim in protest. My heart leaped into my throat. "Not again," I whimpered. The darkness felt thicker this time, more menacing. I could hear my own ragged breathing. And then, other sounds. A soft scraping like something being dragged across the concrete floor. Footsteps, light hesitant footsteps circling me in the dark. "Who's there?" I called out, swinging my flashlight beam around wildly. The beam caught nothing but dusty air and the vague outlines of sheet-covered junk. But the footsteps continued, getting closer, then further away. like a game of hide and seek in the pitch black. Suddenly, a whisper brushed past my ear, so close I could feel a cold breath on my skin. "We just want to play, Alex." It wasn't Grandma's voice this time. It was a child's voice, high-pitched and unsettling. Then another whisper from the other side. "A new game. It's called Blackout." My skin crawled. I backed up, bumping into something hard and cold. Probably one of the moldy walls. I didn't dare think about what faces might be inches from mine in the darkness. I stood frozen, listening to the whispers and the soft shuffling sounds all around me. Then as suddenly as it went out, the power flickered back on, not the main basement light. That was still dead. But a small, dim emergency light in the corner sputtered to life, casting long, eerie shadows. The footsteps stopped. The whispers faded. I was alone again. Or was I? My eyes scanned the now dimly lit room. Everything looked the same, except for one thing. Sitting right in the middle of the floor in a spot that was definitely empty before the blackout was my old teddy bear, Barnaby. The one I hadn't seen in years. Its button eyes seemed to stare right at me, and around its neck was a small, tarnished silver locket. My mother's locket. The one she thought she'd lost last Christmas. Barnaby, my old teddy bear, and Mom's lost locket. How did they get down here? Especially the locket. Mom had been so upset when she couldn't find it. This basement wasn't just haunted, it was a thief. A creepy, personal thief. I cautiously approached the bear. Barnaby sat slumped, his fur matted and dusty. The silver locket gleamed faintly in the dim emergency light. I picked it up. It felt cold. This was too weird, way too weird. I backed away from the bear, clutching the locket. My eyes scanned the room, searching for an answer, any answer. That's when I saw it. Tucked under the old dusty desk where I'd found the journal was a flicker of light, not a flame, more like a screen. I crept closer. It was an old computer monitor caked in dust. I didn't even know we had one down here. It was dark, but as I got nearer, it suddenly flickered to life. The screen glowed with a grainy black and white image. It took me a moment to realize what I was seeing. It was the basement, my basement. But the camera angle was strange, high up in a corner looking down. A hidden camera. The image on the screen was jerky. It showed the basement as it was now, dimly lit. And then I saw myself, or rather, my back. I was standing near the stairs where I'd been during the blackout. But there was something else in the footage. A shadowy figure, tall and thin, was standing right behind me on the screen, so close. I whirled around, shining my flashlight. Nothing, just the empty, silent basement. My heart pounded. I looked back at the screen. The figure was gone. The footage jumped. Now it showed Barnaby appearing in the middle of the floor, as if from nowhere. The screen flickered again. A new scene. It was still the basement. But this time, I was in the footage clear as day. I looked younger, maybe by a year or two. I was cowering in the corner, the same corner where the mysterious door had appeared. My face on the screen was pale, my eyes wide with terror. I was pointing at the wall, screaming something I couldn't hear. But I didn't remember this. I had no memory of being that scared in the basement before. Ever. The footage ended. The screen went black, leaving me with a chilling image of my forgotten terror. What had I seen back then? And why couldn't I remember? The image on that old monitor. Me, terrified, pointing, screaming, but at what? The memory was a complete blank. It was like a piece of my past had been stolen. Stolen by this basement. The emergency light hummed, the only sound besides my own frantic heartbeat. The air felt heavy, oppressive. I felt like the walls were closing in. The mold faces seemed to leer at me from the periphery of my vision. The whispers started again. Soft at first, then growing in intensity. Not one voice, but many. Men, women, children, all whispering my name. Alex! What do you want from me? I shouted, my voice cracking. The whispers swirled, becoming a cacophony of sound. Then a single, clear voice cut through the noise. It was a calm, neutral voice. Neither male nor female. We want you to see, Alex. See what? I already felt like I'd seen too much. Too many impossible things. Too many terrifying things. A cold draft swept through the basement, even though there were no windows down here, no open doors. It smelled of damp earth and something else. Something faintly sweet, like decaying flowers. Suddenly, words began to form on the dusty surface of the old computer monitor. Not video this time, but glowing green text, appearing letter by letter, like an invisible hand was typing a message just for me. The truth is beneath you, Alex. Beneath me? What did that mean? Like, literally under the floor? The message faded, then new words appeared. The door will open again for you. My blood ran cold. The disappearing door, it was coming back? I didn't want it to come back. I wanted to be anywhere but here. The final message began to type itself out, each letter appearing with an ominous glow. My eyes were glued to the screen, unable to look away, a horrible fascination mixing with my dread. It's time, Alex. Time for what? The screen pulsed. Come downstairs. But I was already downstairs in the basement. What did it mean? Then the last two words appeared, burning brightly on the screen, seeming to pulse with a life of their own. Join us. And just below that, as if signed by an invisible hand in the dust of the monitor itself, was one final chilling word. Alex. My own name. An invitation, or a demand, from whatever lurked in the deepest, darkest heart of my own home. I looked around the terrifying basement, then back at the screen. What choice did I have?